It's great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. Today we're going to talk about answering your child's questions honestly. Remember, we have talked so many times about intentional honesty. This one is where that matters. Just so you know, you have to have it fully intentioned in your mind that you are going to satisfy your child's curiosity with honesty. I'm going to give you a very brief disclaimer at the beginning of this one. You have to have enough discernment to know when a child can handle what kind of truth. Okay? All right, so in my family, there are various sorts of addicts, and when I was younger, I participated in a certain kind of addictive behavior. I did not talk to my kids about that when they were little. It didn't affect them directly, although it definitely affected them. But it didn't affect them directly. It wasn't something they saw forget every day. They just did not see it. And when they were older, I'm talking like 18 and 19, I talked to them and they went, oh, it really filled in a lot of blanks for them about my behavior. So here's what you have to understand. You need to tell them what is truthful and honest with a limitation based on their age. Okay, so we're going to go back to sex because it's a big deal. Don't worry, your kids can listen to this one. I'm not going to be very specific, but I will help you get this. All right, so a 3-year-old says to you, Mom, where do babies come from? They watched a funny cartoon and there was a stork bringing a baby wrapped up in a cloth, and you say, well, they're not delivered by a bird. Okay, well, I kind of thought that, but I just don't know. Where do babies come from? Okay, so you remember, find someone that they're probably going to be able to remember. Do you remember Aunt Mabel? Do you remember our cousin Grace? Do you remember that lady at church, Mrs. Brown, and her tummy was really big? Yeah, she was so fat. No, she wasn't fat. There was a baby growing inside of her body. Oh, okay. So where do babies come from? They come from their mom. That may be more than enough. Really, that's like, okay, there's an answer and a truthful answer. You were honest with them. And you just didn't give them more information than they needed. Okay, 4 or 5. Mom, how does that baby get out of there? Okay, now you can see that curious nature in a child is working and their thoughts are working. And now they're going to ask you more specific, in-depth, reasonable questions. And you want to be honest. Well, God made a special way for babies to come out of their moms. For some kids, that's good enough. Okay, I'll never forget this. This one little kid said, you mean they come out their butt? This would be logical to a little boy. That's his place for things to come out of. No, a woman has a special place that babies come out of. It's close by, but it's not their bum. And so you give them an honest answer as much as you can, as much as they need to hear. I guarantee it's usually going to come up with most kids by 6. Maybe 7, but very truthfully, 6. It's interesting because I can honestly tell you that I've had more little boys who have awkwardly put all this to their parents and their parents are freaking out than little girls. I don't know, maybe little girls are a little more familiar with their body. They're a little more reluctant to find out because it's going to have a direct impact on them. I can't say what that's about, but I've seen little girls maybe a little less reluctant than a little boy to ask all these kinds of questions. But you answer as honestly as you can. When they get to the point where they ask you straight up, well, please tell me, where do they come out? How do they get in there in the first place? All of the kinds of things that kids are going to ask you about. I'm going to refer you, and you will find the information down below, to a video where I talked really frankly about sexual things and how to have that conversation with your child. But you were honest. And I will encourage you in that honesty to use the correct words. Don't use all kinds of weird, strange words with your children. You're not afraid to discuss their shoulder. You're not afraid to discuss their knee. I'm not exactly sure why I should be all freaked out about using the word penis or vagina. That's a part of their body. Learn how to use the appropriate terms without being really awkward. Your child will learn to be comfortable with their own body also. Okay, now, so how do you satisfy a child's curiosity about familial things that they're awfully young they don't really need to deal with. And heaven knows, kids are perceptive, so they're going to ask you things. So, Mom, you want to tell me why Aunt Karen and Uncle Jim got divorced? And you're really privy to the fact that Uncle Jim wasn't faithful, and, Aunt Karen has a problem with amphetamines. You're not going to tell this to a 6 or 7 year old kid. They're really not in a position to handle it. But you still don't lie. So you are honest to the extent that you can be, and you can tell them all married people have trouble. It is not so easy to be married. Oftentimes, married people have problems they just can't get over or they can't solve. So, because Aunt Karen and Uncle Jim decided they couldn't, they're getting a divorce. And I'm really sad about that. You answered their question, you were honest, but you didn't give them more than they needed. Now, a 15 or a 16-year-old might be able to handle the information, and yet still, it might be a confidential thing that you know because it's your sister and you've gotten like this very in-depth explanation. But that doesn't mean that your child needs that. But you can say, because they already get this, they're not stupid at 16 or 17, Uncle Jim has been seeing someone else, and Aunt Karen didn't choose to forgive him. But don't think that she's fully innocent. She has had some personal problems too. If you would like to know more, I would like you to talk to her, because that's personal, and I'm not in a position to say it to you without breaking a confidence. Wow, that level of honesty does so many amazing things. It encourages your child to go to the source rather than gossip. It encourages them to understand that people, in fact, do have problems, and you can discuss someone's problem or someone's difficulty without breaking confidence, which is a good thing for a kid to learn. And you can discuss someone's problems without being rude and insulting and going on and on. I can't believe what a jerk he is. You can just be honest, and that's appropriate. Okay? Let's talk about answering questions honestly about your own self that are really difficult. We'll say you were married before, and now you're remarried, and your child or your stepchild, it comes up both ways. So, Mom, what really happened? And again, you're not going to dump all this stuff on a kid, especially not a 5 to 12-year-old kid who's already conflicted about why their dad or their mom isn't in the home anymore. They saw some things that really made them have some questions and doubt the reliability or the stability of their parent. And I guarantee you this kind of thing comes up in fostering children. So if you happen to be a foster parent or an adoptive parent, this is also for you. When that child asks questions, didn't my mom love me? How come my dad loves his other family better than ours? Why did you get divorced from my dad anyway? Dad, what was wrong with Mom? I love Mom. Why in the world did you leave Mom? And why can't I live with her? Whoa, now these are the questions of life that are really difficult, and I want to acknowledge that to you. And yet, to the best of your ability, answer those questions honestly. Give that child as much information as they can handle. And I'm going to say this to you really strongly, without defamation of character of the other person. A lot of things went down in my first marriage. I did not tell my children until they were adults. I kid you not. I think they could have even handled it as teens. I did not in any way, shape, or form want to interfere in their relationship with their dad. I knew that by the time they were adults, they would have to work that out and negotiate the terms of that relationship. And I talked to them a great deal and answered all of their questions as adults. But I did not when they were children. So I want you to know that when you have these honest answers for your children's questions, that doesn't mean you divulge everything that you know. It doesn't mean you give unnecessary detail. And it certainly means that you do not do it in a way that insults or assaults the other person's character. Kids are smart. They'll find out. I would say the only exception to that is if that person is abusive and in the past they hurt that child and they are likely to hurt that child again. You may, in fact, state that. You don't have to be overly emphatic, like get all your emotional baggage behind the statement. You can just say, do you remember when mom hurt you that one time? And the child is very likely to really hide their face and be upset and, not happy with you that you reminded them of something they don't want to think about. It is my place as your dad to protect you. And so that's the reason why you can't just go see your mom and you can't live with your mom. That's the reason why. It isn't that I'm trying to be mean. I don't hate your mom. I really care about her. I'm concerned for her. I'm praying for her. I want you to have a great relationship with her. But you just cannot go live with her and you cannot be alone with her. That's a very honest, caring answer that even a 5 or a 6-year-old can handle hearing, okay? As your child matures, and I'm reluctant to give you an age because every child is different, you may give them a little more and a little more, especially the deep-seated questions for them that come up over and over again that are really causing them pain or difficulty in their life, you address. I want to ask you one more thing. It can be your challenge question of the day. What's hard for you to talk about? Okay. Is it hard for you to talk about your family of origin and things that you see likely to be repeated in your child's life, so you warn them? You know how your Uncle Frank drinks a lot of beer and then he acts really badly? Yeah, I want you to be careful when you get to be a teenager and you go to a party and someone's like, hey man, you want to get drunk? Maybe that's not a good choice for you in light of our family history. Is that difficult? Is that really a challenge for you to be honest about? Is it for you to be honest about your own past or your own addiction or some of your own behaviors that you did in the past? What is difficult for you to be honest about? Because we all have those areas. Is it hard to talk about sex? Because a lot of people don't do great talking about sex. You need to find out those things because that may be the very information that your child needs the most. So the last thing we're going to talk about for a few minutes is answering the unasked question. Sometimes kids don't have the language to ask the question. So you need to know your child well enough and be involved in their life enough to look at the unasked question. So you see them brooding or getting moody or being really angry, breaking things. And you might actually say to them, it seems like something's going on with you. I thought maybe it was about grandma's death. Maybe it was about your friend's mom and dad getting divorced, and you know that sometimes, dad and I fight, and you're worried about that. Find some of the unasked questions and try to approach them. Because when you do, it lets your child know that there are no off-limit subjects, that they can come and talk to you about anything. And then, as you know, I'm a whole lot more about live the life than talk the talk, because talking the talk without walking the walk is pointless. But I will say this to you. This is one of the places where you do learn to talk the talk. You look at your child and say, if anything is ever going on with you, if you need to know, I'm telling you, come to me. I will answer your questions. If I don't know the answer, we will find the answer. Because I really want you to have what you need to have so that you can be okay. So it's one of the places where you verbally reassure your child. They can come to you about anything. And then back it up. They come and ask you a really tough question that's one of the ones that is really difficult for you to address. Maintain composure. Answer that question. Remember, often a shorter answer is way better than if you start going on, because you're liable to get in trouble. Give them more information than they need. Start unburdening your emotions onto them. A short answer is often best, but maintain your composure. Answer the question. When you get done, say, do you have any more questions? Because oftentimes answering one question or two will raise a lot more. And tell them, you can think about this for a few days. And then if you have more questions, you can come back to me again. I'm right here. So make sure that you have strong commitment and intention to be honest with your child. even about the most difficult things in life. It develops a lot of closeness with your child emotionally, and it gives them a great foundation of stability and a lot of confidence in you as their parent, that they can rely on you. Again, feel free to share this video with someone that you think it will help. I would love to hear from you and to answer any questions that you might have. There you go. See, I'll answer your questions. Thank you for being with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.